Why socializing is quietly destroying your mind. Intro hook. Have you ever left a social gathering feeling completely exhausted? Not physically exhausted, not tired because you stayed up too late, but drained, as if something had been taken from you. You walk through your front door. The conversations are over. The noise is gone. Yet your mind feels heavier than before. Most people call this introversion. They tell you that your social battery is simply empty. But what if that's not what's happening? What if the exhaustion isn't caused by socializing itself? What if it's caused by something much darker? Because every time you enter a room full of people, you may be paying a hidden psychological price, a price most people never notice until it's already too late. And once you understand what social life is actually doing to your mind, you may never look at human interaction the same way again. The biggest lie society tells you. From the moment you enter school, you're taught a simple message: socialize, participate, fit in, make friends, be likable. The world rewards people who integrate smoothly into groups, people who cooperate, people who adapt, people who don't create friction. Over time, we start believing that being social is automatically healthy and being alone is automatically unhealthy. But what if the opposite is often true? More than 200 years ago, philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer warned about something most people still fail to understand. The crowd does not strengthen individuality. It weakens it, because the moment you enter a group, a subtle negotiation begins. You stop asking, "What do I think?" and start asking, "What can I say without upsetting anyone?" The shift seems small, but over years, it changes everything. The mask you don't know you're wearing. Think about yesterday. How many times did you hide your real opinion? How many times did you pretend to be interested? How many times did you laugh at something that wasn't funny? Most people don't even notice they're doing it anymore. It has become automatic, a social reflex. The problem is that your brain doesn't distinguish between acting and becoming. Every time you suppress your authentic reaction, your mind records the behavior. Every time you wear the mask becomes more familiar, and eventually, the mask starts becoming your identity. Psychologists call this self-monitoring, constantly adjusting yourself to fit social expectations. Society calls it being polite. Your nervous system calls it work, and that work is exhausting, because pretending requires energy, a lot of energy, the cognitive tax of pretending. Imagine entering a crowded room. Immediately your brain starts processing information. Who's important? Who's offended? Who's comfortable? Who's judging? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? How should I respond? How should I behave? Thousands of tiny calculations happen every minute. Your brain becomes a social computer running dozens of programs simultaneously. Now imagine doing that all day, every day, for years. No wonder you're exhausted. It's not physical labor, it's psychological labor. Schopenhauer believed highly intelligent people often suffer more in social environments, not because they think they're better than others, but because their minds naturally operate at a deeper level. When a deep thinking mind is forced into endless small talk, it experiences friction, like a race car stuck in traffic. The engine wasn't built for this. Eventually, something begins to wear down. The virus, the collective mind. Here's where things become even more dangerous. People don't just influence your behavior, they influence your thinking. Human beings are emotional mirrors. We absorb the attitudes, fears, desires, and beliefs of those around us. That's why spending time with negative people makes you more negative. Spending time with anxious people increases anxiety. Spending time with shallow people encourages shallow thinking. Most people assume they're immune. They're not. The human brain was designed to adapt to the group. Thousands of years ago, belonging meant survival. Isolation meant death. That instinct still exists today, which means your mind naturally moves toward the emotional average of your environment, not the highest level, the average. And averages rarely create greatness. Why the crowd fears depth. Groups prefer simplicity. Complex ideas require effort. Critical thinking creates discomfort. Independent thought threatens consensus. So the crowd unconsciously pushes everyone toward the center. Reward predictability. Reward conformity. Imagine bringing a deeply nuanced idea into a room full of people. Most won't reject it because it's wrong. They'll reject it because it's difficult, because complexity demands energy, and the crowd prefers convenience. Over time, this creates an invisible pressure, a pressure to simplify yourself, to become easier to understand, less controversial, less unique, less threatening, until eventually you become smaller than you were meant to be, the death of autonomy. But the greatest danger isn't intellectual, it's personal, because social overstimulation slowly destroys autonomy. Autonomy is your ability to think independently, to choose your direction, to act according to your values, without constantly needing approval. Modern life attacks autonomy from every angle. Notifications, messages, emails, group chats, social media, requests, opinions. Everyone wants access to your attention, and every time you give it away, you move further from your own priorities. Eventually, you stop living intentionally. You start living reactively. Your life becomes a series of responses to other people's agendas. You wake up reacting. You work reacting. You sleep reacting. And somewhere along the way, you forget what you actually wanted. The fear of being alone. Here's a question. Could you sit alone in a room for 1 hour? No phone, no music, no internet, distractions, just you. Many people can't. The silence becomes unbearable. Their minds begin searching for stimulation. Right. Because social interaction has become an emotional anesthetic. It distracts them from themselves. Without external noise, they must finally face their own thoughts, their doubts, their fears, their regrets, their ambitions. And that's terrifying, which is why so many people stay busy, not because they're productive, but because they're avoiding themselves. The illusion of friendship. Perhaps the most painful realization is this: being surrounded by people does not guarantee connection. In fact, some of the loneliest people in the world have large social circles, because loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of understanding. Think about it. If people only know the version of you that performs for approval, do they actually know you? Or do they only know your mask? If they love the mask, who exactly are they loving? This creates a psychological prison. You can't remove the mask because you're afraid people will leave, but keeping the mask means you'll never truly be seen. So, you're trapped, accepted, yet unknown, surrounded, yet alone, connected, yet misunderstood. And that's a loneliness no crowd can cure. The power of distance. So what's the solution? Not isolation, not becoming a hermit, not rejecting humanity. The solution is selectivity, distance, boundaries, intentionality. Your mental energy is a finite resource. Treat it that way. Stop giving unlimited access to people who contribute nothing to your growth. Stop attending events out of guilt. Stop participating in conversations that leave you feeling smaller. Learn to protect your attention, because attention is life. Where attention goes, your future follows. The moment you create distance from constant social noise, something remarkable happens. The fog begins to clear. Your thinking sharpens. Your priorities reappear. Ideas emerge. Ambitions return. The version of yourself that was buried beneath expectations slowly starts resurfacing, and for the first time in years, you hear your own voice again. Why people will resist your change, but be prepared. Not everyone will like the new version of you. The moment you stop people-pleasing, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop being endlessly available, some people will become uncomfortable. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll call you distant. They may even accuse you of arrogance. Let them. Most criticism comes from people who benefited from the old version of you, the version that sacrificed itself to keep everyone comfortable. When that version disappears, they lose access. And people rarely enjoy losing access. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is protecting your mind, the path of the outlier. History's greatest thinkers understood something powerful. Extraordinary lives require periods of extraordinary solitude, not because people are evil, but because clarity requires distance. Innovation requires silence. Self-discovery requires space. The crowd can tell you who to be. Only solitude can reveal who you are. This is why the strongest minds in history were comfortable standing alone. They weren't antisocial. They were independent. They understood that approval is cheap, authenticity is expensive, and freedom requires the courage to be misunderstood. How true. The next time you leave a crowded room feeling exhausted, ask yourself a question. Was it really the social interaction that drained you? Or was it the performance, the suppression, the adaptation, the endless effort required to become acceptable? Because every room you enter involves an exchange. You trade attention, you trade energy, you trade pieces of yourself. The question is simple. Are you getting enough in return? And if the answer is no, maybe it's time to walk away. Close the door, sit quietly, and rediscover the person waiting underneath all the noise. The person you've been trying so hard to protect. The person you've almost forgotten. Yourself.